why students do not engage. Some students have life-changing experiences going through university. Others may not be motivated. It could be the structure of the class that's preventing them from getting motivated to do work. It could be the professor, the teacher, limited use of techniques, strategies to engage them. It could be also external factors. It could be that they are facing issues that they need accommodations for. It could be an issue that someone is affecting their emotional well-being. There are so many factors that go to create barriers for students to engage. Some are internal to the classroom or to the online environment, others are external. Notwithstanding, as educators, we can create a pathway to ensure that these students are somewhat engaged from our perspective. So we have to understand that there are many things, as I stated before, that can limit students' engagement. And when we talk about students who are not engaged, it means several possibilities. Their grades will go lower, the time to degree will be lengthened, and of course, they will not obtain their full potential as it relates to their academic life. And when students are not engaged, they find the easier way, which could be cheating, to get their grades. So you have multiple factors for consideration there. But when we look at from an educator's perspective, we have to understand that we have to connect with our students. We have to know when they're going down and we have to be proactive. But I think one of the things that we can ensure is that we plan activities that will allow students to be doing more than reading, writing, or just watching. So we want to move towards active engagement or active learning. Active learning is really getting involved in the learning process and learning as you go, building something, exploring something, experimenting, debating, researching, and then presenting. So it's actually doing more than just reading, writing, and watching. So there are so many strategies that I could talk about as it relates to active engagement. And sometimes active engagement requires, as you're learning, requires you to have multiple modes of engagement, of course. So when we look at active learning, I want to talk about two fundamental individuals that talked about this. One, of course, is Montessori. And Maria Montessori, talked about students exploring their environment. And then you had, of course, John Dewey, who talked about students experiencing certain things as they go through. And I think both coming together form the synergy of what active learning is. It's engaging, it's participating, it is reproducing knowledge, and just ensuring that students are, again, not just writing, not just reading, and not just watching. So how can you do an active engagement as it relates to watching a video? You could say to them, to ensure they're actively learning, as you watch this video, respond to these questions, then summarize using, and you could give them a framework to summarize, and then make that same connection to a discussion post or something other that they have read related to the course content. So what you're actually doing is getting them engaged. You want students to be active learners rather than passive learners. These are fundamental issues. Another way, and I'm not going to be able to give you all, but I think I can give you some this morning. I'm just going out of memory. I want to talk about another aspect that you can always think about active learning. Active learning really starts with the design of your course. How you design your course, whether it be face-to-face or online. You have to think about the design of your course. How did you structure your course for engagement? How did you structure your course for active participation? And therefore, you have to think about all these things as you're planning. So active learning is not just snap of your fingers and it takes place. It has to be purposefully planned. And that's why I'm talking about getting your stuff organized in such a way that the very design of your course lends itself to active learning. And that is fundamentally important. How students are engaging also depends on how you have integrated technology into your class. I think you can use technology to ensure that students become more actively involved in their course, of course. Another point that we have to understand is that when we look at the modality of our course, it might lend itself to more active participation, which can also lead to active learning. And one of the models that I love to talk about is blended learning, because with blended learning, students have an understanding of what they are expected to do online and face to face. And by blending the two, the teacher can ensure that both modalities maximize the best of each. There's so much to be gained when you kind of consider a blended approach. So my thought on active learning is that it consistently requires the teacher's evaluation of the learning modality, the learning context. Of course, I mentioned activities that will engage students. We have to move away from the reading, writing, and of course, just watching. That's not going to be active learning. And there are so many ideas out there. Here's a list for a moment. Take a few moments to just write them down if you want. And I just want to say that for us to really move beyond, we have to think about getting students engaged. Today's students require more thoughtful process for engagement. For example, vlogging. Vlogging might be a pathway that they have used that technology, they feel comfortable with it, and they can grow, they can participate in communities, they can learn from others, and at the same time, teachers can also do that. You know, people are against TikTok, but TikTok can be a form of engagement and lead to active learning in order for them to gain a greater understanding by using the technology they are using. So I could go on and tell you some of the strategies, but these are some of the ways that we have to think out of the box to get our students engaged. Not to mention the use of technology. As I stated before, you can use virtual reality, augmented reality, and so many other things to get them engaged. I presented on this topic in the Grand Cayman Islands. Just some thoughts I'm sharing with you at this point in time for you to understand that active learning requires purposeful consideration regarding the learning context, the students, and although they have barriers, we can sometimes break these barriers by using some of these strategies to get them engaged. The just talk and chalk method will need to go. That's my thought for now at this point. Next time.